Mary had lived in Pinewood all 30 years of her life, working as the town librarian. She knew everyone and everything that happened in this sleepy community, nestled between mountains and forest. Nothing extraordinary ever occurred here until tonight. She set her mug down and reached for her phone to take a picture, but the device refused to power on. Strange. The battery had been at 80% moments ago. The air around her felt charged like before a thunderstorm, making the tiny hairs on her arms stand up. The light from the craft suddenly intensified, beaming directly down into the forest about a mile from her isolated cabin. The beam lingered for nearly a minute, then vanished along with the craft, leaving the night sky empty, as if nothing had happened. Mary remained on the porch for another hour, watching and waiting, but the visitor did not return. Sleep would be impossible now. Her mind raced with possibilities, each more fantastic than the last. Had she witnessed something truly extraordinary, or merely misidentified something ordinary? The rational part of her mind suggested weather balloons or military tests, but her instincts whispered otherwise. At sunrise, she hiked into the forest, following the approximate location of the beam. Her sensible hiking boots crunched through the undergrowth as birds called warnings to each other overhead. Something felt different about the forest today. The animals seemed agitated, nervous. Mary pushed through a dense patch of bushes and stopped abruptly. Before her lay a perfect circle of altered earth, approximately 30 feet in diameter. Every plant, leaf, and blade of grass within the circle had transformed from normal green to a silvery blue color, still growing, still alive, but fundamentally changed. The soil itself had a metallic sheen unlike anything she had ever seen. Kneeling at the edge, Mary reached out hesitantly to touch a transformed fern. The plant felt normal in texture but radiated a slight warmth. Nothing, in her limited knowledge of biology, could explain this. A twig snapped behind her. Mary spun around, heart hammering in her chest. At the edge of the clearing stood a woman. At least Mary thought it was a woman at first glance. Her proportions seemed almost human, but slightly wrong. Her limbs too long, her movements too fluid. Her skin had an opalescent quality, shifting between pale blue and violet in the dappled sunlight. Her face bore features in the right places, but with subtle differences, most notably her eyes, large and entirely black without whites or visible pupils. Those eyes studied Mary with unmistakable intelligence. Mary stood frozen, unable to speak or move. The stranger tilted her head in a curious manner, then spoke in a voice that seemed to bypass Mary's ears and resonate directly in her mind. "Your kind fears difference." The words formed clearly in Mary's consciousness. Though the being's mouth did not move in synchronization, the sensation felt invasive yet oddly gentle. "Who are you?" Mary finally managed to whisper. The being moved closer with an unsettling grace that reminded Mary of water flowing around obstacles, rather than a person walking. "I am Lyra, Observer, from the Scythelian Collective. We study emerging species. At critical developmental stages." Mary took an involuntary step backward. The circle of transformed vegetation separated them like a boundary line. "Are you saying you're not from Earth?" Lyra made a gesture with her elongated fingers, something between a shrug and a wave. "Your terminology is imprecise. We exist beyond your current understanding of reality." Mary glanced back toward the direction of her cabin, calculating the distance. She could probably outrun this strange woman if necessary, though. Something told her that would be futile. "Why are you here? Why show yourself to me?" Lyra stepped into the transformed circle. The silvery blue plants seemed to reach toward her as she passed, responding to her presence like plants turning toward sunlight. "Isolation breeds fear. Fear breeds destruction. We seek understanding before contact. Your species approaches a critical decision point. We observe to determine if intervention becomes necessary." Mary felt a chill despite the morning warmth. "What decision point?" The being's expression remained unreadable. "Your kind develops technologies without understanding consequences. Soon you will either transcend your limitations or destroy yourselves. We monitor such transitions throughout the cosmos." Mary's scientific curiosity began overriding her fear. "If you're studying us, why reveal yourself to me?" "Am nobody, just a librarian." Lyra moved closer, still now only a few feet away. Mary noticed she left no footprints in the soil. You possess unusual neural patterns. Your mind remains open while most humans shield themselves behind walls of certainty. You question, you wonder. This makes you valuable. Before Mary could respond, a high-pitched tone pierced the air. Lyra turned her head sharply toward the sky. Others come, she stated. They do not share my methods. They believe your species requires direction, not observation. What does that mean? Mary asked. Time constrains us now. Lyra reached out, touching Mary's forehead with a cool fingertip. Remember this place. Return in 3 cycles of your moon. What you call months. Others will attempt contact before then. Trust no one until you speak with me again. Mary felt a strange sensation spread from the point of contact, a tingling warmth that radiated through her body. Her vision blurred. Momentarily, when it cleared, Lyra had vanished. The transformed circle remained the only evidence of anything unusual. Walking back to her cabin, Mary tried to process what had happened. Had she truly encountered an alien being or experienced some kind of hallucination? The circle was real enough, the altered plants undeniable, but her practical mind struggled with accepting the implications. Over the next few days, Mary continued her normal routine at the library, helping patrons find books, organizing community readings for children, cataloging new arrivals, all while her thoughts remained in that forest clearing. The experience felt both distant like a dream and more real than her everyday life. She told no one. Whom could she tell without sounding delusional? The sheriff would think she was pulling a prank. The local newspaper would turn it into a sensationalist story. Neither option appealed to her. 1 week after the encounter, Mary noticed subtle changes in herself. Her senses seemed heightened. Colors appeared more vibrant, sounds clearer. She found herself understanding concepts in books that had previously confused her, especially in physics and astronomy sections. She devoured information about quantum mechanics and cosmic phenomena with newfound comprehension. At night, she dreamed of stars not as distant points of light, but as places, familiar landscapes she somehow recognized. The dreams left her with a profound sense of longing upon waking. 2 weeks after meeting, Lyra, Mary noticed a black SUV parked outside the library. Men in dark suits entered, asking questions about any unusual occurrences in the area. They claimed to be from the Environmental Protection Agency, investigating reports of strange phenomena. Their identification looked official, but something about their manner felt wrong too, rehearsed too intense. One of them approached her desk directly. A tall man with close-cropped hair and eyes that revealed nothing. Miss Allen. Mary maintained her composure despite her surprise at him knowing her name. Yes, has anything unusual happened in Pinewood recently? Anything that seemed out of the ordinary? Mary thought of the transformed circle in the forest, the strange woman with opalescent skin. Trust. No one. Lyra's warning echoed in her mind. Nothing comes to mind, she replied evenly. We don't get much excitement in Pinewood. The man studied her face for several uncomfortable seconds. I'm leaving my card. Call this number if you notice anything unusual. Mary accepted the plain white business card with only a name and number printed on it. Agent Wilson, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. He'll be sure to do that, she said with a polite smile she did not feel. After they left, Mary examined the card more closely. The paper felt wrong somehow, too thick, too synthetic. When she held it near a light, she noticed microscopic patterns embedded in the material, patterns that shifted when viewed from different angles. This was no ordinary business card. That night, she returned to the forest clearing under cover of darkness. The transformed circle glowed faintly visible even without a flashlight. The plants seemed to have grown larger, their silvery blue coloration more intense. She knelt at the edge, studying the phenomenon, wondering what changes were happening at a molecular level. Movement in the trees caught her attention. Someone else was here. She quickly extinguished her flashlight and crouched low. Through the darkness, she made out 2 figures setting up equipment around the circle. Men in hazmat suits working silently, methodically. Government agents perhaps, or military personnel. The warning from Lyra seemed more urgent now. Mary retreated carefully, avoiding dry branches and crunchy leaves. As, she backed away. Her foot caught on an exposed root, sending her sprawling with a startled cry. The figures immediately turned in her direction, powerful flashlights sweeping the area. She scrambled up, running blindly through the forest, hearing shouts and pursuit behind her. A lifetime of exploring these woods gave her an advantage, knowing every trail and shortcut. Still, she could hear them gaining ground. Their flashlight beams cut through the darkness, getting closer. Mary veered off the path, plunging into a dense thicket of brambles. The thorns tore at her clothes and skin, but she pushed through, emerging on the other side near an old logging road. She sprinted along it, heart pounding in her ears. The sound of an engine roaring to life spurred her to greater speed. Headlights appeared ahead, cutting off her escape. Mary dove into the underbrush as a vehicle raced past, then skidded to a stop. The black SUV from earlier. She remained motionless, barely breathing. As doors opened and flashlights swept the area, "She's heading toward the town," one voice called. "No, check the cabin," another responded. "That's Mary Allen, the librarian. Lives about a mile north." Mary felt cold. Fear gripped her heart. They knew who she was, knew where she lived. She remained hidden until the SUV drove away, then set off through the forest, avoiding roads and open areas. The night had become dangerous in ways she never imagined. When she finally reached her cabin, Mary entered cautiously, checking for signs of intrusion. Everything appeared normal, but she no longer trusted appearances. She packed quickly essentials, only clothes, some food, water, her savings. A nagging thought made her grab astronomy books from her shelf and a detailed map of the region. Where could she go? Who could she trust? Lyra's words echoed in her mind. "Return in 3 cycles of your moon." That gave her approximately 2.5 more months of waiting. But waiting. Where Mary drove through the night, avoiding main highways sticking to back roads. Her modest sedan was nothing special, easily overlooked. She headed west into the mountains, where old mining communities offered anonymity and few questions. By dawn, she reached the small town of Copper Ridge, a former mining settlement now mostly populated by artists, retirees, and people seeking distance from modern life. She checked into a small motel, paying cash using her middle name. For the next week, Mary kept to herself, venturing out only for supplies, monitoring local news for any mention of strange occurrences in Pinewood. Nothing appeared in official channels, but online forums buzzed with reports of government vehicles, restricted areas in the forest, and unusual equipment being transported into the region. 3 weeks into her self-imposed exile, Mary woke from another vivid dream of stars and distant worlds to find her motel room filled with a soft blue light. She sat up, heart racing. A figure stood by the window, tall, elegant, with that same opalescent skin, but this wasn't Lyra. This being had sharper features, more angular, with eyes that glowed amber instead of black. "You hide well for a primitive species," the newcomer observed. Her mental voice felt colder than Lyra's, more mechanical. "Who are you?" Mary demanded, keeping her voice low. "I am Vex, Tactical Assessment Specialist. You met our observer, Lyra." Mary slid from the bed, keeping distance between them. "Are you here to help me?" The alien made a gesture that might have been amusement. "Your species always assumes importance. Amusing you are merely a variable. A potential complication." Mary stood straighter, feeling oddly brave, despite her fear. "Lyra said to trust no one until I spoke with her again." Vex moved closer to Mary, studying her with those unnerving amber eyes. "Lyra exceeds her authority. Our mission parameters do not include individual attachments. You will come with me now. The others of your kind search effectively. They will find you soon." Mary backed toward the door. "No, I don't think I will." Vex's expression hardened. "You misunderstand. This is not a request." Before Mary could react, the alien moved with blinding speed, closing the distance between them in an instant. A slender hand clasped her wrist with surprising strength. A searing pain shot through Mary's arm, followed by a wave of dizziness. The room tilted around her, consciousness fading. The last thing she heard before darkness claimed her was Vex's cold mental voice. The observation continues human. Whether you participate willingly or not is irrelevant. Now, here's part 2. Mary woke to the gentle hum of machinery all around her. The surface beneath her felt neither soft nor hard, but somehow responsive, adapting to her body. She kept her eyes closed, feigning unconsciousness while she assessed her situation. The air smelled clean, almost sterile, with an underlying scent she couldn't identify, something like ozone and citrus mixed together. She remembered the motel room, Vex appearing, then pain and darkness. How long had she been unconscious? Where was she now? Carefully, she cracked one eye open. The room around her defied easy description. The walls, if they could be called that, seemed to pulse with subtle light and patterns that reminded her of circulatory systems. No sharp angles existed anywhere. Everything curved and flowed into everything else, creating an organic impression. Despite the clearly artificial nature, the ceiling above her rippled occasionally like the surface of water reflecting light. Mary opened both eyes and attempted to sit up, discovering she wasn't restrained. Her body felt strange, lighter somehow, as though gravity had lessened its hold. Swing her legs over the edge of the platform she had been lying on. She tested her weight cautiously. A panel in the wall dissolved, revealing an opening. Lyra stepped through, her opalescent skin glowing faintly in the room's ambient light. "You recover quickly," the alien observed. "That suggests compatibility." Mary stood, facing the being who had first contacted her. "Where am I? What is this place?" Lyra gestured around them. "This is a research vessel currently orbiting your planet at approximately 300 kilometers above the surface. What you call low Earth orbit, eh?" Spaceship Mary felt dizzy again, but fought to maintain her composure. "I was taken against my will by someone named Vex." Lyra made that strange gesture again, something between acknowledgement and regret. "Vex follows protocol. I do not. The collective maintains strict guidelines regarding contact with developing species. Direct interaction is forbidden without authorization, so you're breaking your own rules," Mary said. While Lyra moved closer, her movements fluid and graceful. "Your species fascinates me. Humans possess contradictory traits simultaneously. Violent and compassionate, short-sighted yet capable of profound insight. Your potential exceeds any species we have encountered in 16,000 years of observation." Despite her situation, Mary felt a surge of pride at these words. This coming from beings capable of interstellar travel meant something. "The collective studies countless worlds." Lyra continued. "Most follow predictable developmental paths, but Earth occupies a unique position. Your world exists at a cosmic crossroads, a nexus point, where multiple probability streams converge. The decisions your species makes within the next decade will ripple across galaxies, affecting civilizations you cannot imagine." Mary tried to process this information. "Why tell me I'm just one person? I have no influence, no power." Lyra tilted her head in that curious manner. "You underestimate yourself. Each individual consciousness forms part of the collective human experience. The concepts you personally accept or reject shape your species' development incrementally. Each mind that expands creates possibility." Before Mary could respond, another opening appeared in the wall. A different alien entered, this one taller than Lyra, with skin that shifted between deep purple and midnight blue. Its features seemed more masculine, though Mary realized applying human gender concepts might be meaningless. "Lyra, this experiment ends now." The newcomer projected his thoughts with such force that Mary winced, feeling pressure in her mind. "The Council demands immediate termination of unauthorized contact." Lyra stood her ground physically between Mary and the newcomer. "Ceres, your authority extends to tactical operations, not research parameters. The human remains under my protection." Ceres moved further into the room, his presence somehow filling the space with tension. "The human governments have detected anomalies. They mobilize primitive detection systems, searching for our vessel. Continued observation requires immediate relocation." Mary spoke up, finding courage she didn't know she possessed. "You can't just take me. People will notice. I'm missing. Both aliens turned to her Cirrus with what appeared to be surprised Lyra, with something like approval. Your disappearance is already managed, Cirrus stated flatly. A simulacrum occupies your dwelling, maintaining expected behaviors. Your absence raises no concerns. Mary felt cold dread. The implications horrified her. What do you mean a simulacrum? A biological construct, Lyra explained gently. It mimics your appearance and basic functions enough to prevent immediate alarm. It is not sentient, merely a sophisticated facade. How long have you been planning this? Mary demanded. Lyra made a gesture toward a section of wall which immediately transformed, becoming transparent. Mary gasped at the sight before her. Earth hung in the blackness of space, a blue marble wrapped in white swirls of cloud. The curve of the planet filled the viewport, making the reality of her situation undeniable. 3 of your years, Lyra answered. We identified you as a potential contact subject during preliminary surveys. Your neural patterns showed receptivity to concepts beyond your cultural frameworks. Mary approached the viewport, placing her hand against the transparent surface which felt neither like glass nor plastic, but something in between. The beauty of her home planet from this perspective brought tears to her eyes. Why not choose someone important? A scientist? A government? Official Cirrus made a sound like static. Both would be contaminated by preconceptions. Scientists filter new information through existing paradigms. Officials through political necessities. We required an open mind, uncluttered by false certainty. Mary turned back to face them, the strangeness of her situation finally overwhelming her defenses. This is kidnapping, she said softly. No matter how you justify it. Lyra approached, placing a slender hand near Mary's on the viewport, not quite touching. Yes. By your definitions and our own laws, this constitutes an ethical breach. The difference being we acknowledge it. Cirrus moved toward the opening he had entered through. The council convenes to discuss this unauthorized action. Lyra, your presence is required. After Cirrus departed, Lyra turned to Mary. I must attend this meeting. You will remain here. The vessel recognizes your biological signature. You may explore these quarters freely. They have been adapted to support human physiology. Food, water, and sanitation facilities are available. Mary gestured toward the viewport. What about that? What happens to me now? Lyra paused at the doorway. The council will decide. 3 outcomes exist. Most probable, return you to Earth with modified memories. Second probable, retain you for continued study. Least probable, grant you full awareness and limited integration. Modified memories, Mary repeated. That means erasing what I know. Correction. Lyra responded, reconfiguring cognitive associations. You would retain experiences but interpret them differently, perhaps as dreams or fiction rather than reality. Mary felt anger rising. That sounds like mind control. Lyra seemed to consider this. The distinction matters to you, I understand. This viewpoint will factor into my advocacy. After Lyra left, Mary explored her surroundings. The room reconfigured itself as she moved through it, openings appearing in walls, revealing facilities that approximated human needs. A basin provided water that tasted perfectly. Normal A recessed area produced food, simple but nutritious fruits, vegetables and proteins that looked almost but not quite like Earth varieties. Mary tested the apparent exit, finding it sealed. She was a prisoner, albeit in a comfortable cell, with nothing else to do. She returned to the viewport, watching Earth rotate slowly beneath her. The sight filled her with conflicting emotions, wonder at seeing something few humans had ever witnessed, and deep longing for the home that now seemed impossibly distant. Hours passed, though, without a sun or clock. Mary struggled to track time. She dozed fitfully, waking to find the room unchanged except for the viewing port, which now showed stars instead of Earth. They were moving. Panic gripped her as she pressed against the transparent surface. Where was Earth? Where were they taking her? As if responding to her distress, the viewport shifted, showing Earth again but noticeably smaller. They were traveling away from her planet at incredible speed. The wall dissolved. Again Lyra entered, looking somehow diminished. Her skin had lost some of its luminosity. Her movement seemed less fluid. "The council has ruled," the alien announced. 3 days of deliberation have produced consensus. 3 days, Mary exclaimed. "It hasn't been more than a few hours," Lyra made a gesture of correction. Time passes differently in council space. A dimensional fold allows extended deliberation while minimizing temporal displacement. What does that mean? Mary asked. "That 3 days for us has been approximately 5 hours for you," Lyra approached the viewport. "Regardless, the decision is final. You will be returned to Earth relief, flooded through Mary. Returned home without altered memories." Lyra hesitated. "That condition I could not secure. The Council's primary directive prevents contamination of developing species. Your memories will be reconfigured." Mary backed away. "No, I don't consent to that. You can't just rewrite my mind." The alien studied her with those bottomless black eyes. "Consent, in this context, is your concept, carries no weight with the Council." Anger replaced Mary's fear. "You speak about studying humanity, respecting our potential, yet treat individual choice as irrelevant. How is that respect?" Lyra seemed to consider this perspective. "I advocated for preservation of your memories. Saris and others maintained that knowledge of our existence would irreparably alter your developmental path. Your species relies on certain shared realities. Exceptions create instability." Mary felt tears of frustration forming. "When will this happen?" "The ship will reach insertion coordinates in approximately 20 of your hours. The procedure occurs immediately before return. 20 hours, a reprieve however brief." Mary wiped her eyes, trying to think. Clearly, if she was going to forget everything anyway. "Then teach me," she said suddenly. Lyra tilted her head questioningly. "If I'm going to forget everything anyway, share your knowledge with me. Let me understand what you've learned about the universe, even if it's only for a few hours." The alien was silent for a long moment. Something shifted in her expression. "I am not authorized to share collective knowledge with uncleared species." Mary stepped closer. "Please consider it an extension of your research. How does a human mind process advanced concepts? I could be your final data point before this experiment ends." Lyra made that strange gesture again, almost a shrug. "You employ persuasive reasoning. This suggests adaptability. An interesting final observation, Nami." Alien moved to the center of the room and made a complex gesture with her elongated fingers. The entire chamber transformed. Light coalesced into 3-dimensional images all around them. Stars, galaxies, nebulae, and structures. Mary had no words to describe. "This is your local galactic group." Lyra indicated as the representation zoomed outward, showing countless galaxies clustered together. "The collective maintains observation posts in 17% of these systems." Mary turned slowly, absorbing the incredible display. The universe expanded around her, revealed in ways human telescopes had never captured. "Is this real?" she whispered. Lyra adjusted the display, filtering for human visual spectrum and dimensional limitations. "This representation approximates reality within acceptable parameters." For hours, Lyra showed Mary wonders beyond imagination. The birth of stars, the death of solar systems, the strange life forms that evolved in environments humans would consider impossible. Civilizations that had risen and fallen across millions of years. Some biological like humanity, others mechanical or energy-based or existing in states of matter. Mary had no context to understand. Mary asked countless questions and Lyra answered each one, explaining complex concepts in terms Mary could grasp, occasionally correcting her understanding, but never dismissive of her limited perspective. When Mary grew tired, food appeared, and she ate while the lessons continued, learning that what humans called dark matter was actually a complex network of energy that formed the foundation of consciousness throughout the universe. That time flowed differently in different regions of space, not just as Einstein had theorized, but in ways that defied human mathematics entirely. Most fascinating was the revelation that Earth occupied a unique position in space-time, a nexus where multiple probability streams converged. Human decisions, particularly regarding technology and resource management, would create ripples, affecting countless other worlds. You mean we're that important? Mary asked, incredulous. Importance is subjective, Lyra responded. Every species matters within its own context. But yes, Earth represents a critical junction point. The paths your kind chooses will determine outcomes across multiple galaxies. The collective does not interfere directly but observes with particular attention. Mary thought about this. The responsibility felt overwhelming. How could humanity make the right choices when most people remained focused on short-term gains and immediate concerns? What happens if we choose wrongly? Lyra adjusted the display, showing a timeline branching into multiple streams. Most civilizations at your development stage destroy themselves through resource depletion, environmental collapse, or weapons of mass destruction. Others survive by chance or wisdom, advancing to join interstellar communities. Some rare few transcend physical limitations, entirely becoming something new. The display showed Earth following different trajectories in each scenario, some leading to extinction, others to stars. Is that why you're studying us? Mary asked. To nudge us toward survival. The alien dimmed the display, returning the room to its normal state. That question reveals the core ethical dilemma of non-interference policy. Does observation itself constitute interference? Does knowledge of being watched alter behavior? Mary considered this. Of course it does. The observer effect exists even in our primitive science. Precisely, Lyra acknowledged. By contacting you, I altered potential outcomes. My actions violate collective directives, yet simultaneously fulfill our mandate to understand developing species. This paradox remains unresolved. Time passed quickly as Mary absorbed knowledge, learning more in these precious hours than she had in her entire life. The wonders of the universe opened before her, each revelation more astonishing than the last. The knowledge that humans were not alone, that thousands of civilizations existed throughout the cosmos, filled her with hope and wonder. All too soon, Lyra announced their arrival at the insertion coordinates. The procedure begins shortly, the alien informed her. Your return to Earth follows immediately after. Mary felt desperation rising. Is there no way to preserve what I've learned? Some part of it, Lyra seemed to hesitate. The reconfiguration targets specific neural pathways associated with direct contact memory structures remain intact, but associations change. Experience becomes dream, imagination, fiction. The knowledge itself remains, but its origin becomes uncertain. The agent handed her a card identical to the one from her dream. Call this number if you notice anything unusual. After they left, Mary sat at her desk, hands shaking. The transformed circle existed. It wasn't just a dream. The implications staggered her. Either she had somehow predicted a real event, or her thoughts stopped short at the alternative, that it had all actually happened exactly as she remembered. But her memory had been altered to make her believe it was just a dream. That night, Mary spread her notes across her living room floor, creating a timeline of everything she remembered from the dream, alongside real-world events. The correlations were too precise, too numerous to be coincidental. The government agents, the transformed, circle the strange knowledge she now possessed. She found herself drawing complex diagrams of spacecraft propulsion systems, blueprints for technology that could harness zero-point energy, from the quantum vacuum details of faster-than-light travel. Through artificial wormholes, the designs flowed from her hand with absolute certainty. A noise outside interrupted her concentration. Mary froze, listening intently. Footsteps on her porch, then silence. She quickly gathered her notes, hiding them in a hollowed-out book on her shelf. Just as she finished, someone knocked at the door. Miss Allen, the familiar voice of Agent Wilson, called, "We need to speak with you." Mary approached the door cautiously. "Who else is with you?" "Just my colleague, Agent Davis. Please open the door." She opened it slightly. Chain still in place, 2 men in dark suits stood on her porch. Their expressions serious. "May we come in?" Agent Wilson asked. "It's important." Mary hesitated, then nodded, removing the chain. The agents entered, surveying her cabin with professional interest. "You've been withholding information," Miss Allen, Agent Wilson said without preamble. Satellite imaging shows you visited the affected site multiple times before our containment team arrived. Mary maintained her composure. How would satellite images show that the forest canopy is too dense, Agent? Wilson smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. You just confirmed your knowledge of the location. The canopy density would only be relevant if you knew which site we were discussing. Mary realized her mistake too late. The agent continued. Our sensors detected unusual neural activity in this region. Activity consistent with non-terrestrial communication patterns. Your brain waves. Miss Allen show the same patterns. She backed away, feeling trapped. How could you possibly know that? The second agent, Agent Davis, spoke for the first time. We're not actually with the Environmental Protection Agency, Miss Allen. We represent a specialized division tasked with investigating potential extraterrestrial contact. Mary felt a chill run through her specialized division project. Sentinel Wilson explained. Established in 1947 following the Roswell incident. Our mission is to identify, assess, and contain evidence of non-human intelligence operating on Earth. Her mind raced, searching for an escape. But these men blocked the only exit. What do you want from me? Wilson stepped closer. Your cooperation, your assistance. You've been in contact with them, haven't you, the beings who created that circle? Mary thought quickly, weighing her options. Denial seemed pointless, yet admission could be dangerous. She decided on a middle path. I had dreams, she said. Strange, vivid dreams about beings from another world. About a ship, and knowledge beyond human understanding. But that's all just dreams. Davis removed a handheld device from his pocket, sweeping it slowly around the room. The device emitted soft beeping sounds, increasing in frequency near Mary. Quantum entanglement. Signatures, he announced, multiple instances. Strongest around the subject. Wilson nodded as though this confirmed something. We're not here to harm you. Miss Allen, we're here to understand what happened to you. The beings who contacted you. They altered your perception. Made you believe your experience was merely a dream. It's a common protective technique. Mary's certainty wavered. How can you know that? Because you're the 17th contact case we've documented, Wilson replied, each presenting the same pattern. Ordinary citizens with no scientific background, suddenly possessing advanced knowledge, believing it came from dreams or inspiration. Mary sank into a chair, her defenses crumbling. So it was real. All of it. Lyra, the ship, the lessons about the universe. Davis continued operating his scanner. The alterations to your temporal lobe are consistent with Cedian reconfiguration techniques, different from the Pleiadian approach used in the Arizona cases. Wilson pulled another chair closer, sitting across from Mary. We need to know what they told you, what they showed you. Did they explain their purpose here? Their intentions toward Earth? Mary looked between the two agents, her mind racing. Lyra's warning echoed in her memory. Trust no one. The beings, who called themselves the Collective, maintained strict non-interference protocols. Yet these government agents spoke of multiple contact cases, different alien species operating on Earth. The contradiction disturbed her. I don't remember everything, she said carefully. Just fragments, images, concepts beyond my understanding. Wilson leaned forward. Did they mention a convergence point? A nexus of probability? Mary's heart skipped. She had written those exact words in her notes. Earth occupies a unique position, a nexus where probability streams converge. How could Wilson know this specific terminology unless they mentioned something like that? Mary admitted, watching their reactions closely. Why is that significant? The agents exchanged glances. Davis, powering down his scanner. 17 contact cases in 8 different countries, Wilson said. Each contactee embedded with fragments of information, none possessing the complete picture. We believe it's deliberate, a distributed knowledge system. Process this information. Were there others like her around the world, each given pieces of a larger puzzle? But why? What was the purpose? The collective fears direct intervention, Davis added. They operate through subtle influence, preparing humanity For something. What Mary asked. Wilson spread his hands. That's what we need to discover. The fragments you possess combined with others may reveal their true intentions. Mary studied the agents carefully, looking for signs of deception. Their story seemed plausible, yet something felt wrong. Their knowledge of alien species, their technology for detecting quantum entanglement. How had human government developed such capabilities? If what you say is true, why not take me into custody? Study me in a lab, somewhere. Wilson smiled, that empty smile again. That approach proved counterproductive with previous contactees. The information becomes inaccessible under duress. Almost as if the thoughts self-encrypt, Mary felt a strange sense of relief at these words. Something within her own mind protected the knowledge she carried. We prefer cooperation. Wilson continued. A mutual exchange. Your insights for our protection. The beings who contacted you. They will return. Their pattern indicates multiple interactions with chosen subjects. The certainty in his voice triggered another memory fragment. Lyra's words echoing in her mind. Return in 3 cycles of your moon. Nearly 3 months had passed since her dream. The timeline aligned perfectly. And if I refuse to cooperate, Mary asked. Testing their response, Davis answered, his voice flat. You would be placing yourself at risk. The beings who contacted you, the collective as they call themselves, they aren't the only non-human intelligence operating on Earth. Others, with less benevolent intentions, monitor contact subjects. Mary felt cold dread forming in her stomach. Others, Wilson nodded grimly. Our organization formed in response to multiple competing extraterrestrial presences. Some observe, some influence, some seek to interfere directly in human development. The collective represents just one faction. Mary stood pacing the small room, trying to process this information. Government agents tracking alien contact, competing non-human factions operating on Earth, the dream that wasn't a dream. Her own mind altered to perceive reality differently. It overwhelmed her, yet somehow made perfect sense, explaining the strange certainty she felt about her new knowledge. I need time to think, she said finally. Wilson handed her another card. This one different from the first, with a different number. This connects directly to me. Available day or night. When you're ready to talk, or if they attempt contact again. After the agents left, Mary sat in darkness contemplating her situation. The government knew about the aliens' monitored contact cases, possessed technology that could detect quantum entanglement. Their explanation seemed plausible, yet something nagged at her. Something about Wilson and Davis felt wrong. Their knowledge too precise, their appearance too conveniently timed. She retrieved her notes from their hiding place, reviewing everything she had written about the collective direct intervention. Violates their protocols. They observe, they study, but they don't interfere yet. According to the agents, they had contacted at least 17 humans worldwide. Implanting knowledge, manipulating memories. Why the contradiction? Mary closed her eyes, focusing on the fragmented memories of her experience aboard the alien vessel. Something important lay just beyond her grasp. A crucial detail about the collective, their purpose, their methods. Then it struck her, the council. 3 days of deliberation, Lyra breaking protocols to contact her directly. The disagreement, with Saris about human development. The collective itself was divided. Some, like Lyra, believed in careful selective contact. Others maintained strict non-interference. Others still perhaps advocated more direct approaches. A plan formed in Mary's mind. If I believed this was all a dream, a story I created, would the essential information remain? Lyra made that gesture again, something between acknowledgement and approval. Theoretical concepts, abstract knowledge would persist, separated from experiential context. Yes, Mary took a deep breath. A compromise, then change how I remember this experience, but leave the knowledge itself. Let me believe I imagined everything, created a story. But let me keep what I've learned about the universe. Lyra studied her for a long moment. Such an approach might satisfy technical requirements while preserving information structures. An elegant solution. Hope flared within Mary. Then you'll do it. I lack authority for such modification. Lyra responded, but the technician who performs the procedure might be persuaded if the adjustment appears minor. The wall dissolved, revealing Ceres accompanied by another alien, this one smaller, with silvery skin and six-fingered hands. The newcomer carried a device resembling a circlet of metallic mesh. The procedure commences, Ceres announced. Protocol dictates complete memory reconfiguration. Mary stood straight facing him with newfound courage. I request a modification. Let me remember this as imagination, as fiction, not reality. The knowledge remains but poses no threat to your security. Ceres regarded her with those unnerving amber eyes. Intelligence demonstrates itself through adaptation. Your proposal has merit. The technician approached, placing the mesh circlet on Mary's head. The device felt cool against her skin, activating with a soft hum reconfiguration. Parameters adjustment authorized. Ceres confirmed. The human retains conceptual frameworks, while experiential context shifts to fictional. Construct. Mary looked at Lyra one last time. Thank you, she said simply. The alien inclined her head in acknowledgement. Your mind expands beyond expected parameters. Your species holds promise despite limitations. The device hummed louder. Mary's vision. Blurred colors swirled around her consciousness, fragmenting, then reforming in new patterns. Her last clear thought was of Earth, seen from space, beautiful and fragile, hanging in the void. Then darkness claimed her again. Here's Part 3. To Story Part 3. Typecast text markdown. Title. Part 3. Mary woke with a start, her mind filled with fragments of the most vivid dream she had ever experienced. Stars, alien beings, a ship traveling through space. The details remained unusually clear. As she blinked in the early morning sunlight streaming through her bedroom window, she sat up disoriented, looking around her familiar cabin. Everything appeared normal. Her books stacked on the nightstand, clothes draped over a chair, coffee mug from yesterday still sitting on the desk. Yet something felt different somehow. She felt different, rising from bed. Mary walked to the window, gazing out at the forest beyond her property. The trees looked the same, but she saw them differently now. Noticing patterns in their arrangement, the complex interplay of sunlight through leaves, the mathematical precision of nature that she had somehow never fully appreciated before. How strange, she thought. The dream lingered, unusually persistent in her consciousness. Stars, galaxies, alien beings named Lyra and Vex, and Ceres' knowledge about the universe that seemed both fantastic and oddly familiar, as though she had always known these things, but only now remembered. Mary showered and dressed automatically, her mind still processing the dream images. She made coffee, then sat at her small writing desk and began to write, documenting everything she could remember. The words flowed easily, page after page filled with descriptions of alien technology, interstellar travel, the physics of wormholes, and the strange biology of beings from other worlds. By noon, she had filled an entire notebook. The writing felt therapeutic, organizing the chaotic information in her mind. When she finally stopped, her hand cramping from hours of continuous writing, Mary flipped through the pages, surprised by the level of detail and consistency. Nothing about the information felt random or dreamlike. Everything connected logically, building a comprehensive picture of cosmic reality far beyond current human understanding. She made herself lunch, then walked into town for her afternoon shift at the library. Everything appeared normal in Pinewood. People greeted her warmly as always, going about their business, unaware that anything unusual had happened. Mary found herself studying them with new eyes, wondering what potential lay dormant in ordinary human minds. At the library, she organized the new arrivals cart when Sheriff Dan Blake entered. Looking troubled, "Mary," he said, approaching her desk, "have you been out to the old forest road recently?" Her heart skipped a beat. Something about his question triggered an echo of her dream. A circle of transformed vegetation, government agents searching. The memory felt both real and unreal simultaneously. "No," she replied cautiously. Not for a few weeks. Why? Dan leaned closer, lowering his voice. Got reports of trespassers out there, some kind of environmental team set up equipment, federal boys. No local notification, which strikes me as odd. Mary maintained her composure despite a growing sense of unease. What kind of equipment? Monitoring stuff, they claim. Checking for unusual radiation or something. All very hush, hush. Asked me to keep people away from the area. Radiation. Mary repeated the word carefully. Something in her mind shifted like puzzle pieces clicking into place. The dream. The transformed circle in the forest. The strange visitors. Dan nodded, looking unconvinced. Supposedly routine, but they got the place. Locked down tight. Never seen environmental scientists with that kind of security before. He straightened, adjusting his belt. Just thought I'd mention it since you hike out that way sometimes. Stay clear of the North Ridge for now. After Dan left, Mary sat at her desk, pulse racing. The coincidence seemed impossible. Her dream had featured government agents searching the forest for evidence of alien contact. Now similar figures appeared in reality, just as her subconscious had predicted. She pulled an astronomy book from the shelf opening to a chapter on deep space telescopy. The information seemed elementary now, almost childishly simplified compared to what she believed she knew. Equations that had once seemed impenetrable now appeared obvious, their relationships clear. That evening, Mary returned to her cabin, taking a different route, avoiding the forest road entirely. Once home, she locked the doors and windows, drawing the curtains before spreading her notes across the kitchen table. She began organizing the information into categories: physics, biology, cosmology, technology. The result resembled a scientific textbook, documenting advanced concepts far beyond current human knowledge. She stared at her work, wondering, where had this information come from? If it was merely a dream, why did it feel so real? Why could she recall every detail with perfect clarity? And why did the sheriff report government agents in the exact location from her dream? That night she dreamed again. But this time, not of aliens or spaceships. Instead, she saw mathematical equations flowing like rivers through space. Time itself represented as a complex, multi-dimensional grid where probabilities branched and merged. She woke with absolute certainty about the nature of reality, understanding concepts that no human scientist had yet formulated. Over the following days, Mary continued her normal routine at the library, while secretly documenting everything she knew. Each night brought new dreams, more knowledge, deeper understanding. She began creating star charts mapping regions of space no human telescope had observed, drawing constellations visible only from other worlds. 2 weeks after her first dream, Mary noticed the black SUVs in town, men in dark suits asking questions at the local diner, the hardware store, the post office showing photographs to residents. The sight sent a chill through her, but she maintained her composure, continuing her work at the library, as though nothing were amiss. The men eventually entered the library, 3 of them spreading out among the shelves, pretending to browse while obviously studying the patrons. One approached her desk directly, a tall man with close-cropped hair and eyes that revealed nothing. "Miss Allen." "Yes," Mary replied calmly, though her heart raced. "Agent Wilson, EPA, Environmental Protection Agency." He showed identification that looked genuine, though something about it felt wrong. "Have you noticed anything unusual in the Pinewood area recently? Strange lights, unexplained phenomena?" Mary met his gaze steadily, maintaining her outward calm. "No, nothing out of the ordinary. Pinewood is pretty quiet." The agent studied her face, his expression unreadable. "Several residents reported seeing unusual aerial lights approximately 3 weeks ago. Specifically in the vicinity of your property." Mary shrugged apologetically. "I sleep soundly. Must have missed whatever they saw. Probably just a helicopter from the lumber operation up north." The man placed a photograph on the desk. It showed a perfect circle in the forest where vegetation had changed color, the transformed circle from her dream. Seeing it in a photograph made Mary's breath catch. Somehow this was real. Recognize this location. Mary studied the photo carefully, keeping her expression neutral. "No, should I?" The agent retrieved the photograph. We found unusual soil composition and plant mutations in this area, located approximately 1 mile from your residence. The changes appear recent and cannot be explained by any known environmental factor. I'm sorry, I can't help you. Mary said I stick to the marked trails when hiking.